Y'all better buckle up right now because what just happened today at airports all across this country is going to make every single Democrat's head spin clean off their shoulders. ICE agents walked through the doors of American airports this morning, and there ain't a dang thing the left can do about it. Not one thing. Trump just moved the pieces on the board and called checkmate, and the Democrats are sitting there staring at the table like they just got out-hustled at a domino game by an 80-year-old man at a Whataburger. Let's talk about what is actually going on here, because the media is going to try to spin this into something ugly, and I ain't going to let them do it without setting the record straight. This DHS shutdown started on February 14th, and since that day, over 400 Transportation Security Administration workers have quit their jobs. 400 people gone. While spring break is happening, while families are trying to get to the beach, while grandma is trying to fly out to see the grandbabies. These men and women showed up day after day working without a single paycheck, and eventually, enough was enough. The single worst day happened at Houston Hobby Airport, where the call-out rate hit 55% in one day. More than half the security staff just did not show up. In Houston, in Texas, my home. That ain't a staffing problem, y'all. That is a full-blown crisis manufactured in Washington by people who do not care one bit about the American traveler. Now let me tell you who caused this, because the media is real good at mudding the water on that question. Democrats have refused to fund the Department of Homeland Security because they want changes to ICE enforcement. All of this stemming from events in Minneapolis where 2 people were killed during an immigration enforcement operation. So their solution to that situation is to starve 50,000 TSA workers of their paychecks during spring break travel season. That is their answer. That is what the Democrat Party looks like in 2026. They would rather hold your airport hostage than let the men and women who keep this country secure do their jobs. 2.8 million people were projected to travel on American Airlines every single day in March and April, adding up to a record 171 million passengers. 171 million people. And the Democrats decided that the right time to play chicken with DHS funding was right now, during the biggest travel season the airline industry has ever seen. That ain't incompetence, friend. That is a choice. They made that choice on purpose, and they are going to have to own it. In Philadelphia, airport officials closed 3 security checkpoints entirely this week because of short staffing. Wait times in Houston and Atlanta hit 2 full hours. New Orleans told passengers to arrive 3 hours before their flights. 3 hours early for a domestic flight. In America, in 2026. This is what Democrat obstruction looks like when it leaves the Senate chamber and walks right into your life. So what did Trump do? He did what Trump does. He saw the problem, he identified the solution, and he moved. ICE agents arrived at several domestic airports today, including John F. Kennedy International Airport and Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport. They walked in this morning, right on schedule, just like the man said they would. Hundreds of ICE and Homeland Security investigations officers were deployed to more than a dozen airports across the country. More than a dozen airports. This ain't a test run. This is a full deployment, and it happened because one man had the backbone to pull the trigger when everybody else was sitting on the fence. Now the critics are already howling. House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries said the last thing Americans need are untrained ICE agents deployed at airports, and he threw around words like brutalize and kill. Brutalize. That is the word the man chose. Not help, not assist, not step up, brutalize. That right there tells you everything you need to know about how the Democrat Party sees law enforcement in this country. These are federal agents. These are Americans who put on a badge every single day and do a job most folks ain't got the stomach for. And Hakeem Jeffries walked in front of a camera and called them a threat to the traveling public. That is shameful. That is the kind of talk that poisons the well against the very people keeping us safe. Border Czar Tom Homan made it real clear that ICE does immigration enforcement at airports all the time. That ain't something new. That is the job. So all this hollering about ICE being at airports like it is some unprecedented invasion of civil liberties is just noise. It is theater. It is Democrats pretending to be shocked by something they know dang well has been happening for years. The only difference now is that Trump said it out loud, and now all of a sudden it is the end of the world. Homan explained that ICE agents would relieve TSA agents from guard duty at terminal entries and exits, freeing up the trained screeners to do the specialized work they are certified for, moving those lines along. That is not chaos. That is logistics. That is triage. That is what you do when you got a problem and you got resources and you put them together. Any rancher out here in Texas knows that when the fence is down and the cattle are getting loose, you do not sit in the house waiting for the perfect solution. You grab whatever hand you got and you go fix the fence. And here is the part that really gets me fired up. Democrats in the Senate blocked a standalone bill to fund TSA workers specifically, refusing to separate TSA funding from the broader fight over ICE. They had a chance to pay those workers. They had a chance to end the lines at the airport. They chose not to. They looked those 50,000 TSA employees in the face and said, "No, you are a bargaining chip, and we are going to keep you that way until we get what we want on immigration." That is not leadership. That is hostage taken. And the American traveler is the one paying the ransom in the form of 3-hour security lines during their family vacation. One Democratic senator let it slip that their internal polling shows Republicans are getting most of the blame for the TSA situation because they control the White House and both chambers of Congress. And see, that right there is the whole game. That is the strategy laid bare. The Democrats do not care about fixing the airports. They care about who gets blamed for the airports. They are literally saying out loud that their political calculation matters more to them than 50,000 workers missing paychecks. That senator ought to be ashamed to say something like that. But they said it, and that tells you the whole story. Trump looked at that situation and said, "Nope, we are not going to sit here and wait while Americans miss flights and families get stuck and workers go without pay. We are going to act." That is what you do when you are the one in charge and you actually care about results. You do not hold press conferences crying about the other side. You pick up the phone, you call Tom Homan, and you say, "Get ready." And Tom Homan said, "Yes, sir," and got it done. Trump also told reporters today that he asked ICE agents deployed to airports to remove their face masks, saying he does not like it for the airport environment. That is a small thing to some folks, but it is a big thing in terms of signal. He wants transparency. He wants the American people to see the faces of the agents working for them. He wants accountability on both ends. That is not the behavior of someone running some shadowy operation. That is a man who wants everything done in the open. The Democrats picked this fight. They picked the timing. They picked the battlefield. And today, Trump walked right onto that battlefield and said, "Fine, you want to fight over ICE at airports? Well, now you got ICE at airports, just not the way you planned it. Y'all wanted to make ICE the villain of this story. Instead, ICE just became the solution. That is called a counterpunch. That is called moving on the offense when the defense is failing. And whether the media wants to admit it or not, that is exactly what happened today. Checkmate.